The day started like any other, or at least I thought it would. The spaceport on Kestrel 9 was bustling with routine traffic, freighters carrying exotic ores, passenger liners disgorging vacationing humans, and the occasional exotic diplomat escorted by their entourage. I was new to the Interstellar Humanitarian Corps, essentially a cosmic EMT and fixer rolled into one. My specialty? Crisis intervention, particularly in situations nobody else dared touch. But no one had prepared me for what I found myself stepping into that morning. I had been summoned to Habitat 42, an orbital station serving as a refuge for alien diplomats and their families during negotiations on trade and peace treaties. My assignment sounded simple on paper: calm a distressed alien infant. The description read, extremely irritable. No one has been able to soothe it. Danger level: unpredictable. I laughed at first. An alien baby, I muttered to myself. How bad can it be? I should have known that bureaucrats always underestimated alien physiology. When I arrived at Habitat 42, the station was in an uproar. Sirens echoed in the corridors, and diplomats were rushing about in a panic. Security drones hovered near the nursery, their sensors scanning for any sudden flare-ups. It was chaos disguised as a palace. The alien mother, a creature whose shimmering skin shifted color like liquid metal, approached me. Her name, as best I could translate, was Xylara. She radiated tension, every ripple of her form communicating a different emotion, none of them pleasant. They call him Zyrek, she said in a voice that vibrated like a tuning fork. No one has calmed him. He screams for hours, then freezes reality around him in anger. Freeze reality? I blinked. Excuse me? Xylara's eyes, liquid pools of silver, flared. She gestured to the nursery. Inside, the infant was writhing in a levitating crib. His cries were more than sound. They resonated as vibrations, tangling the air like invisible threads. I could feel the irritation in my chest. Even the drones were jittering, their flight paths destabilized by the tiny storm in the crib. This was not going to be a normal day. I took a deep breath. My first step was observation. I noted Zyrek's patterns. Every few seconds, his colors flashed violently, a combination of neon orange and pitch black, signaling distress. The drones attempted proximity, but he repelled them with bursts of kinetic energy that could have cracked reinforced metal. I slowly approached, hands raised, speaking softly in the common human tongue. The alien mother frowned. He does not respond to words. I wasn't human either in this regard. I had a gift for reading emotional frequencies, a rare neurological trait that allowed me to sense and mirror feelings. It had saved my life more than once on volatile planets. I closed my eyes and focused, allowing myself to tune in to Zyrek's frequency. At first, it was chaos, a tangle of anger, fear, and confusion. His perception of the world was overwhelming. But slowly, I began to isolate a single thread. He was curious, not malicious. Beneath the screaming and the energy bursts was a deep yearning to connect, to understand. I hummed, a low, resonant tone, matching the rhythm of his core vibrations. At first, nothing happened. Then a twitch. One tiny appendage reached out in my direction. Another. The crib's levitation wavered, but held steady. Zyrek's shrieks softened into quivers. I leaned closer. I'm here, little one, I whispered, extending my hand. He hesitated, then lunged. His tiny fingers wrapped around my wrist, and for a moment, the entire nursery was silent except for his breathing. Xylara gasped, her form shimmering in disbelief. No one has touched him without harm. I smiled gently. He's just scared. The breakthrough felt monumental. Within minutes, Zyrake was in my arms, cooing, colors calming to a gentle silver and teal. The drones retreated, defeated by simplicity. The mother watched, awe-stricken. Even the station staff stopped in the corridors to observe. You calmed him, Lara said, her voice a mixture of relief and astonishment.
How?
I shrugged. Sometimes it's not about force or technology. It's about understanding, feeling what they feel and meeting it. She nodded slowly, comprehension dawning. You have empathy. I chuckled. I've been told that a few times. But as the initial relief settled, a new problem emerged. The infant's eyes, large, iridescent, and frighteningly intelligent, locked onto mine. Then Zyrake spoke. Not in words, not in language I knew, but directly into my mind. You see me truly. I froze. Mental communication with an alien child wasn't standard procedure. But his thoughts were not intrusive. They were warm, like a gentle tide. Yes, I responded in kind, unsure how it sounded to him. I see you. You're safe. The connection lingered. I could feel his world, the vast unknown of space, the pulses of life on his home planet, the protective instincts of his mother. But beneath it all, there was something else, something hidden. A faint echo of power, an ancient resonance, older than anything I had encountered. Zyrake wasn't just a child. He was unique. Over the next few hours, I stayed with him, learning his rhythms. He responded to vibrations, emotional mirrors, and gentle movement. Staff members attempted to follow my techniques, but failed. Only I could sustain the connection. News of my feat spread quickly across the station. Diplomats and scientists crowded around, observing through transparent walls, their minds buzzing with excitement and curiosity. Impossible, one of them whispered. No human has ever calmed a Zyrake. And yet, there I was, holding him like he was the most ordinary being in the galaxy. Ordinary or almost. Lara approached me, her form steady now, a sign of trust. I have never seen him like this. Perhaps you are meant to guide him. I laughed nervously. Guide him? I'm just a babysitter. Her eyes glittered.
No.
You understand him in a way others cannot. There is destiny in this. I waved off the notion. But destiny has a way of announcing itself loudly. The announcement came at dinner, of all places. Zyrake's crib was in my quarters. He had insisted, through subtle thought waves, on staying near me. I was eating synthetic protein cubes when alarm sounded. Red lights flashed, and an automated voice warned of a gravitational anomaly outside the station. I rushed to the observation deck. The sight made my stomach twist. A massive tear in the fabric of space was opening near the station, a rift, swirling with black and violet energy. Ships in the vicinity were being pulled in, torn apart. The station itself shuddered. Panic erupted. Scientists scrambled to stabilize energy fields. Diplomats screamed orders. Security teams evacuated. But Lara froze, her gaze on Zyrake. He is the key, she whispered. Only he. Only he could do what? I realized, with a chill, that Zyrake's unique resonance, the very trait that made him unmanageable to everyone else, might be the only thing capable of saving the station. I looked at the infant, then into his mind. Do you understand? I sent. I understand. I trust you, came the reply. We moved quickly. I carried him to the central energy conduit, a massive core that regulated the station's shields. The scientists were yelling at me, but their words were drowned out by the roar of the rift outside. Zyrake's eyes glowed, colors shifting in impossible patterns. He reached out with his mind, touching the energy flows like a pianist striking chords. The rift pulsed, quivered, and then, slowly, began to contract. Waves of force tore through the station, but with careful guidance, my guidance, we stabilized the conduit. Zyrek hummed, a resonant tone that counteracted the chaotic energies outside. Minutes felt like hours. Then, with a final pulse, the rift imploded, leaving nothing but the cold void of space. Silence. The station staff stared at us, mouths agape. Zyrek blinked up at me, calm and smiling. I realized he had just performed a feat that no alien, no human, and no technology in the galaxy could have accomplished. Lara approached, tears, shimmering liquid metal tears, trailing down her face. He is safe. You saved him and the station. I smiled weakly, still in awe. We saved each other, I said softly. Zyrek cooed in agreement, curling into my arms. The aftermath was surreal. Scientists swarmed to study him, but Lara and I insisted on privacy. Zyrek's abilities were beyond anything they could measure. He had been calm, safe, and now a savior. I became known across the station not just as a crisis specialist, but as the human who understood a Zyrek. Diplomats hailed our actions as a miracle. News broadcasts across Kestrel, 9 reported it. Human calms alien infant, prevents interstellar disaster. Interviews, holographic documentaries, and even political commendations followed. But none of it mattered to me. The only thing that mattered was the small, iridescent being sleeping peacefully in my arms, trusting me completely. And for the first time in my life, I realized that trust, pure, unspoken, empathetic trust, was a power greater than any weapon, stronger than any shield, and capable of bridging the vast emptiness of the universe itself. Weeks later, as the station returned to normal, I watched Zyrek crawl across the observation deck, giggling at the glittering stars outside. I caught Lara's eye. She smiled, a subtle shimmer of gratitude in her form.
"Thank you," she said.
Not just for him, but for showing us that understanding can surpass fear. I nodded, watching the infant's iridescent skin flicker in gentle shades of blue and green. Sometimes, I replied, the smallest being can do the biggest things if someone just listens. And as Zyrek looked at me with those intelligent, knowing eyes, I knew that this was only the beginning. Not just for him, but for the relationship between humans and the universe. One connection at a time. I had calmed the alien baby, they said no one could. And in doing so, I had discovered something that no one had expected. The universe itself sometimes whispers through the smallest voices, and if you truly listen, it will change everything. Weeks turned into months, and the station settled back into routine, but life for me and Zyrek was anything but ordinary. I had officially become his caretaker, a role I never expected to hold. Scientists still observed him from a distance, but Lara and I set strict boundaries. Zyrek had become more than just an infant. He was a being of potential cosmic significance, and I wasn't about to let fear or curiosity endanger him again. Every day, I learned something new about him. His mind was astonishingly quick. Where humans take years to comprehend certain concepts, Zyrek seemed to understand them instinctively. He laughed at patterns, reacted to emotional cues, and, most terrifyingly, he could manipulate energy fields with a simple thought. But unlike the Rift incident, he never used his abilities aggressively. He was playful, curious, and surprisingly empathetic. The final test of trust and connection came unexpectedly. One evening, the station received a transmission from the Council of Galactic States. A hostile fleet had been detected approaching a nearby trade corridor. No weapons could stop them. Conventional defenses would fail. The Council urgently requested assistance. I knew immediately what this meant. Zyrake, the same being who had calmed the chaotic rift, was the key. Lara approached me. Her form shimmered in concern, but also in quiet pride. He trusts you. Only you can guide him in this. I swallowed hard. We'll do what we can. We moved to the observation deck, where the fleet was visible as tiny dots against the void, growing larger with every passing moment. Zyrake's eyes gleamed with curiosity, not fear. I spoke to him mentally, as I had before. Do you understand what is happening? Yes, came his clear, confident response. I will help. But you must be with me. I held his tiny hand in mine. His presence was calming, like a heartbeat syncing with mine. Together, we stepped onto the platform connected to the station's energy core. Scientists monitored frantically, unsure of what would happen. But I knew Zyrake had grown to trust me completely. He extended his mind toward the approaching fleet, reaching out with the energy fields only he could manipulate. Ships shuddered and halted mid-space. Shields flared, weapons fizzled, and the enemy fleet froze as if time itself had hesitated. The fleet commander, visible through the transmission, dropped to their knees in disbelief. Zyrake then turned to me, a look of pure joy on his small face. I realized he wasn't just saving the station or the trade route. He was learning cooperation, empathy, and connection in real time. And for a brief, brilliant moment, the universe seemed to pause, acknowledging that a human and a baby of another species could accomplish what armies and fleets could not. Finally, the fleet disengaged, retreating into hyperspace, powerless against the quiet, immense force of trust and understanding that flowed through Zyrake. The station erupted in cheers. Diplomats, scientists, and security personnel alike looked at me as if I had become a legend overnight. But I only had eyes for Zyrake, who now cooed in delight and clapped his tiny hands. Lara stepped forward, her metallic form shimmering brighter than ever. You have done more than calm him. You have helped him become what he was meant to be. And in doing so, you have saved countless lives. I smiled, exhausted but elated. We did it together. Weeks later, as Zyrake took his first independent steps across the observation deck, exploring the stars beyond the station, I realized that my life had irrevocably changed. I had entered a crisis, thinking it was about calming a baby. Instead, I had discovered something profound. Trust, empathy, and connection are forces more powerful than fear, war, or even interstellar chaos. One evening, Lara approached me with Zyrake nestled in her arms. He will grow, and you will continue to guide him. But remember this, you are no longer just his caretaker. You are part of his destiny, and perhaps part of the destiny of the galaxy. I nodded, looking out at the stars with Zyrake's tiny fingers curling around mine. I think, I said softly, we're ready for whatever comes next. The infant cooed, his iridescent skin reflecting the distant sun. He had calmed, learned, and grown under my guidance. And as I held him, I understood that life's true power often resides in the smallest beings, the quietest voices, and the connections we dare to make. The universe had tested us, and in return, it had gifted me the most unexpected revelation of all. Sometimes, changing the world starts with calming a baby, and from that act, the unimaginable becomes possible. We looked at each other, human and alien, infant and caretaker, and in that gaze, an unspoken promise formed, that together, we would face the cosmos, not with weapons or fear, but with understanding, empathy, and trust. And in that moment I knew, beyond any doubt, that we had changed the universe forever.